Akash Inti, the real reflection of you. It's late night here on Tuesday evening, and I guess it's Wednesday morning at this point, but what's been going on with me? Well, a few things. I've been noticing I had a couple milestones I guess this past weekend. Um, one with I earned my yellow belt in Ishinru Karate this past Sunday. So that was pretty big for me. And it's something I'm really excited about because the belts are, it's not like you can just buy a belt, right? It's not like you can be like, all right, I'm going to buy a yellow belt or I'm going to buy a black belt. Like, that's not how that works, you know? It's something that's earned. And more, I find that the things that are earned are, to me, of so much more value than the things that you can pay for, that you can buy. And even more than that, right? It's like, okay, it's cool. Like, yeah, you earned yellow belts, but it's the journey of the yellow belt is much more enjoyable than like a material thing, to me specifically. Now, there's other people who might have a different opinion, right? Someone else might be like, I don't know, maybe they want to get a Rolex watch, right? And for them to get a Rolex watch, there's a journey to that, right? It's like there's a journey to getting a Rolex watch. Well, what's part of the journey? Obviously, you need to acquire the money for it. Where do you come up with the money for something like that? And so there's a journey to that. And it could be that you're a salesman. It could be that you work some type of gig. Like, I don't know. There's always a journey, though, to anything. And to me, I found that the journey in and of itself is much more enjoyable than the actual physical end result of it, right? So to me, having that yellow belt now, it's not like, okay, cool, the yellow belt itself is the thing that's interesting, but it's the journey of getting there, and it's only going to continue over time, right? And as I mentioned, same thing in this example I gave, it was a Rolex watch. But that's one thing I've been realizing more and more. It's not the physical things, or it's not the physical things that are so interesting so much as how one went, the story behind coming to that physical thing. I find that so much more not only enjoyable for myself, but those are the types of stories that I want to hear from people. You know, yeah, it's cool that someone has a Lamborghini or something like this, but to me, that almost what's more interesting is, well, how did you even get to a place where you could come up with the money for something like that? Now, it's one thing if you're like, I don't know, like a trust fund kid, or it was just given to you, right? Like you didn't have to earn it. Then it's like, all right, well, I'm not interested. It's not an interesting story, super boring. But to me, the stories where, well, I had to end up, I don't know, I was broke as a joke, and then end up making whatever it costs to buy a Lamborghini, for example. That's interesting. That's an interesting story to me, right? It's like, how did that come about? Where did that come from? Where did you get all this drive from? Why did that matter? Why did that Lamborghini matter so much to you? That's what's interesting to me. And as a storyteller, I think that's where, personally, this is my opinion, I think this is where the most powerful stories come from. It's conveying that here's my journey, and here's how I went about doing this, and here's why I went about doing this, and here's some of the trials and tribulations that I had as I was on my journey. To me, I relish that. I find myself on the edge of my seat, waiting for every word from the individual who's gone through a journey like that, and a journey where they earned something. And I enjoy that because I get to live that story with that individual as they tell it to me. I get to experience those highs and lows, those crucial moments on that journey that are so important. So that was one big thing that I guess I don't know if it's a big thing, is one thing I realized, or it was something of interest to me, you know? More and more, as if you guys have been following me, I love stories. I truly, truly love stories, and I call myself a raconteur or a storyteller. Consequently, because to me, that's all we have in life, right? I've been realizing for myself more and more that there's few things that are true truths. One, I had a day of birth. I was born, so I became alive. I became conscious in this world in a human body. And two, I will die at some point in the future. Could be a moment from now, could be 15 years from now, could be 50 years from now. I don't know. I know not when this moment is. And everything else in life, everything between that moment of birth and that moment of death, it's all a story. Now, there's multiple aspects to the story, right? There's multiple stories to it. There's stories within the story within the story, right? There's the story that's going on in my head. What am I saying? What do I interpret the world as? So, I don't know, why am I doing this video? There's a story behind that, but then there's the story of me actually speaking as I'm doing the video. So there's an internal story for me, and then there's also an external story of what I'm saying out loud and what I'm sharing. And so to me, it's just stories upon stories upon stories. It's all stories, you know. At the end of the day, that's all the thing that's all I have is the moment of life, the moment of birth, the moment of death, and everything in between. And all in between is a story. So that's what I got for today. Keep up, thrive, and stay sexy.